How's it going, everyone? So this is going to be a little bit of a rant video, and if you know about me, then you know I like a good rant and I like going off on topics, and anyone who's had to listen to me can probably count several minutes to hours of their lives that I've wasted by complaining about one thing. So today it's going to be about how people perform their push-ups during their fitness assessments. Now, this is something that gets me because it's such an easy thing to do, and the instructions say it completely, 100% exactly how you have to do a push-up. And it's not that difficult. Basically, it's going down to 90 degrees at your arm and then coming back up. It's not difficult to do. And that's one repetition. There's a few other things, like you can't cross or brace your legs, they can't be more than 12 inches apart, but your hands can be any width, and they can also be lifted off the ground at any point during the assessment. You can also bend or bow your back when you're resting, and resting has to be done in the up position, so with arms extended. This takes me into some of the crap that I've seen people do with fitness assessments, and it's difficult because usually there's one or two FAC members, so fitness assessment cell members, and then a couple of augmentees from the units on base to help assist with conducting this fitness assessment, as well as reading the instructions and marking down all of their scores. They can't watch everyone taking the assessment because sometimes there could be 20 plus people taking an assessment, and having 3 or 4 people trying to overview 20 people while also checking the time to make sure that they're timed for exactly 1 minute, it can be kind of difficult. But there's always someone counting your repetitions, and usually that's another person in the Air Force. So people are letting other people get away with doing half-assed push-ups for their fitness assessment because nobody really wants to be the person that causes someone to fail. But we're always preach integrity, so I think people should step up and actually tell people when they're not completing a rep. Even if that means that they end up failing the assessment, maybe that's something they need because fitness isn't something they're focused on, and it's something that they need to be. So pulling up the fitness assessment charts from AFI 36-2905, so basically the AFI on fitness, males under the age of 30 need to do at minimum 33 push-ups. That gets you 5 out of 10 points. It also happens to be almost exactly half of what the maximum score is, which is 67. So hitting 33 push-ups in a minute is not that difficult, especially because you don't have to spend as much time under tension during the exercise. You don't have to draw out those 33 for the entire minute. You can do 33 push-ups in 25 or 30 seconds, and then put a knee down and you're done. Good. Test over. You've hit the minimum requirement you needed to. The chart for females under 30 puts you at 18 push-ups being the minimum requirement. Max out is 47 or more. So 18 push-ups. Again, reason why it's generally less is because females tend to have less upper body strength than males do, so they stagger it to allow for that compensation between the genders, so male and female. But overall, 18 push-ups is not something that should be very difficult for someone who has at least 6 months in between tests to work on it. If you could do 2 push-ups right now, I have complete and 100% faith in you being able to do at least 16 more push-ups 6 months from now if you worked out training push-ups specifically 3 times a week, about 5 or 10 minutes each of those times. It's not super difficult, and it's not a very heavily weighted movement. It ends up being about your body weight times like 0.55 or 0.6 because of all of the angles and stuff required to perform the movement. So you're not lifting your entire body weight, you're lifting a significant portion less. So for myself, let's say it's 0.6, so I weigh about 180, and you take 0.6 of that, and I'm using a calculator. So, calculator right there. Take 180 times 0.6. So that would be 108. And with that 108, I would have to do 33 repetitions. So if I threw 110 pounds on a barbell, I could probably do at least 33 repetitions of that for bench press. But I can also just as easily put my face on the ground, put my hands about shoulder width apart, and push myself up off the ground 33 times. It's not that difficult of a movement, and it's not something that you should have difficulty doing. This next part, I'm going to show some of the things that people tend to do and that people still count on the fitness assessment even though they're clearly wrong. And any of you watching this will see it and be like, well, damn, I've seen that too. So it might be a little bit difficult to see because I have a black mat, a black power rack, as well as black socks, black shorts on. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff I see, and then how I do a push-up, and why I think that's a pretty optimal way to do it. So one of the most common things that I see people doing is they have their hands really wide out, not specifically a problem, but then they're doing like, and that's getting counted as a push-up. At what point do you see the arms reaching 90 degrees during this? The other thing that I see people doing, usually they have their hands in closer, they're here. They never actually extend to the top of the push-up. You don't have to lock out your elbow, but you do need to straighten your arm. So, or people have their back up like this, doing push-ups. And you're kind of required to have your back straight and to go down till your arms are at 90 degrees and then back up. And so what I do for my push-ups is I usually have my hands just outside of shoulder width, and then instead of having them in line with my shoulders up here, I have them in line with my chest. So I'll go about to the center of my chest, and that's where I'll place my arms. What that allows is for the pectoralis muscles to actually function in the pushing movement more so than your shoulders. As well as not having too wide of a grip, so your triceps can actually work on the movement as well. Whereas a super wide out grip reduces the amount of tricep that you actually use for doing a push-up. And I think recruiting the most muscles you can is going to allow you to do the most amount of reps. So what it looks like for me is place my hands just outside of shoulder width. I usually start like this, kind of like on hands and knees, and then have my feet here, and then it's almost slightly leaning forward, which makes my arms, instead of being straight underneath my shoulders, like here, they're back a few inches, so my fingertips are probably about underneath my shoulders, but the heels of my hands are at my chest. So then I go down, arms go out probably 30 to 45 degrees away from my body, and then back up. Easy enough way to do push-ups. It's hard for me to see if they're perfect because I'm trying to do the push-up and not watch the video, but they should be at least pretty close. So as for myself, I've done about 48 to 60 close grip push-ups each week for the last 2 months. And that's the only push-ups I actually do at all. I don't like training push-ups because for me, the amount you have to do to actually, at least for myself, get a lot of training out of it, it's hard to increase the resistance with what the push-up is. It's more difficult to add weight to a push-up because you'll usually need someone to place a weight on your back, or you'll have to get a weighted vest, and weighted vests tend to be pretty pricey. So I don't want to do that, and I think for chest, shoulders, and triceps training, if you're trying to hit all three at once, that there are better exercises to do it than the push-up. I think if we all just held each other a little bit more accountable during push-ups, it'd be fine. And if people train just a little bit more, it wouldn't be a problem at all. And no one really wants to be the person that calls someone out on it and is the reason why they failed a PT test. But something you can at least do to make yourself feel a little bit better and not seem like such of a dick is tell them what they're doing wrong during the push-ups and help them try and do the push-ups correctly during the assessment if they're not doing it correctly. Because at the very least, you're telling them they're doing it wrong. And if afterwards they still pass because you counted all of them, then that is what it is. Nothing me or anyone else can do about it. That's going to be on you and the person you counted for. So anyway, hope you like this little bit of a rant. Hopefully you can at least kind of relate to it, because I think this is pretty prevalent. Again, only been to one base so far to do any testing, so not a whole lot to compare it to. But until next time, have a good one, and your mileage may vary.